All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me, of course, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're going to be getting into some interesting conversation. If you tuned in live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. And of course, let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, what's up? How you doing?
Yo, Junior, I'm running off energy alone, not sleep, not sleep. Okay, because I was up. I had to force myself to go to sleep. Like, have you ever been like working, grinding, and crushing it, and then you look up and it's 1 o'clock, then it's 2 o'clock, then it's 3 o'clock, and then you're like, oh shoot, I got responsibilities in the morning too, so I need to get some rest. I'm at that space. I was up to like 3 a.m. last night thinking about you guys, you, you watchers, you viewers, thinking about you. And I was like, how can we make this more valuable? How can we make this more valuable for you guys? And I love the leadership topic that we were talking about yesterday. I'm excited to get into the strategy, honesty, integrity, and perspective piece. But I'm feeling energized. And that was one of them, energy, the reservoir. When you are connected to your why and you turn your why into a who, you tap into another level of energy. So I think I hit my why energy at like 12. I remember, like, I literally had to say a prayer, guys, for real, like for real. I was working and I was like, Father, give me the strength to finish, to press. And then I turned my why into a who, tap into another level of energy. Because then it wasn't about me, it wasn't about my why, it was about my wife, my kids, you all. And I hit that next level. Super energized this morning, Gio. How about yourself?
Bobby, I feel the same. I'm super energized as well. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to see what the day brings. I'm very open. I'm very optimistic. Very optimistic. Just like we spoke about yesterday when we went over those leadership principles. I feel very optimistic about the future. For me, the future looks bright, and I'm just ready to see what today will bring. All right, guys. So today we're actually going to continue a conversation we started yesterday, and we'll just dive right in, Bobby. But to just sort of do a summary, we were going over leadership, okay? And Bobby was giving us this brilliant breakdown of leadership and what it means to him. And we sort of had this acronym. So if you haven't written it out, you could write this down right now. So L stands for learn. E E stands for enthusiasm. A A stands for, is that attached, Bobby? What is A stand?
Attitude. Attitude.
A stands for attitude. D for discipline. E for energy. R for relationships. And we're about to get into the S, the I, the S, the H, the I, and the P part of leadership. By the way, I see Bradley Hoover tuning in. Shout out to Bradley. Bradley, hope everything is well with you, man. I know like Texas just went through, yeah, there you go. Good morning from Texas post hurricane. So Hurricane Beryl did go through Texas. And as far as I know, like 2 million people were left without power. So hopefully everything is cool with you, Bradley. Definitely sending you prayers, and I will personally reach out as soon as I can. All right, so let's get into it, man. Let's get into the S. So the S stands for strategy. So Bobby, let's get into it. Tell us about strategy as far as leadership is concerned.
Yes, guys. So just to connect this a little bit more for you all, we were talking about the team building the dream. Like most people that don't make it to $1 million is because they try to do everything by themselves. We talked about getting to six figures by yourself. We talked about getting to high six figures by yourself. But we talked to a very, very specific group. We talked to individuals that have education, experience, and expertise. Many times you're working within an organization that is giving you your workload. So if you're a counselor, you have an organization providing your caseload. If you are a consultant, you've got an organization providing you with the clients that you need to go consult. If you are a tax professional, a veteran, someone that was in the military, you had someone telling you what to do and how much your time was worth for getting that done. So you're very skilled at what you do. That's not the challenge that many of you all have on your way to $1 million. The challenge is leads. The challenge is revenue. The challenge is, how do I create my own caseload? And what are the steps necessary for me to get paid at the price that I deserve instead of the price that other people say I'm worth? So when you're building this for yourself and you're scaling the organization, you're creating the organization, those things that the organization used to do for you, you have to do them for yourself now. And you might not have all the core competencies to get this done. So you're going to need people to help you. We're not believers in doing everything yourself. That's not what we believe here. We believe in brands and leadership. Leadership is leading yourself and others. If you lead yourself well and you create a vision that other people can get behind and you can galvanize and lead people, you don't have to do everything yourself. You don't have to do everything yourself. You have help because you have people that want to follow you. So the acronym leadership is all about who you have to be in order to attract ideal talent and lead that talent effectively on your way to $1 million. Because very few people get there on their own. And if you do, by some miracle, generate $1 million by yourself, consistently doing that year after year after year and scaling that by yourself with no team, virtually impossible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I'm saying it's pretty unlikely. So you need a team, and that's what we've been talking about. So strategy from that perspective is all about how you are going to strategically empower leaders. So a great leader creates more leaders. And if you don't have a strategy for developing leaders, that means you might not have a strategic vision. And a strategic vision is a big vision. It is a vision that you have action steps for attaining. And it is one that other people can get behind and find growth by assisting you. Think about that. When you have a strategic vision that is big with action steps that can be communicated and delegated, and other people can see themselves growing with you under your leadership, you will have all the talent you can use, all the talent you can leverage, because people want to grow. Everybody's seeking growth. So strategy is about thinking big, but also thinking strategically about the people you want to work with and building a environment and vision that they can get behind. So Junior, what's your perspective on strategy in the role it plays in leading people, having a strategic vision for the development of others?
I had a conversation yesterday with a young lady, and we were talking about marketing. And we got around to the point, Bobby, where we started talking about like content creation. So she said to me that I can make content. I don't think I need social media marketing. Like I don't need a social media marketing package or anything like that. I don't think I need that because I know how to do reels. I know how to make TikToks. I know how to do all of this stuff. So I said to her, that's amazing. However, when it comes to success, there's a reason why not everybody who's putting out content on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all of these various platforms. There's a reason why not all of them are multi-millionaires, even if all of them know how to make content. So I said to her, what is the difference? The difference is exactly what we're talking about. It is strategy. So I told her my background is marketing, and I could tell you in marketing, and you could write this down, principles govern strategy, strategy governs tactics. So to sort of bring this back around to what we're talking about. If you have a team with no strategy, what you have is a lot of people doing a lot of different things. You have a lot of tactics, but tactics don't work without strategy. So tactics change, principles always stay the same. So the role of strategy is that 30,000 feet view that you as a leader have for the resources of the company. Resources meaning the money, the assets, the team. You have a strategy for how you're going to meticulously use those resources to get to that particular goal. Where there is no strategy, Bobby, there's very little to any, if any, chance of you actually getting to that goal. I don't see it happening. I just see a whole heap of people doing a whole lot of stuff. And as you know, as Sadhguru, I don't know if you know who Sadhguru is. Sadhguru is the he's an Indian guru. Look up Sadhguru. Sadhguru said that working hard doesn't get stuff done. So just because you work hard doesn't mean you'll get the result. You get result for doing the right thing. So for me, strategy is one of those things that you need as a leader. And me as a follower, I cannot follow any leader that does not have a solid strategy, because that means you'll be leading me to the hamster wheel. Does that make sense? Like you'll be leading me to the hamster wheel. And bro, I'm not trying to be on no hamster wheel. So we need a strategy. We need to know what are we doing. Okay. And by the way, the strategy can be very flexible. So things happen. Life is life in every single day, every single minute of every single day. There are new things coming up. Things are being changed. The market is changing. Things are happening. Elections are coming. This is happening over here. This is happening over here. So your strategy, or you as a strategist, need to know how to navigate the market and navigate the different situations that happen every day in business to help your team get to that specific goal. So when you ask me the role of strategy, Bobby, what's the role of a leader? The role of a leader is the strategy. That's it. Without strategy, there is no leader. There is no leader without strategy.
Powerful, powerful. And I agree 1000%. So as we move into honesty, this is one that a lot of leaders can struggle with when they are pushing their selves and their team. So there's something we would say in the military, crap rolls downhill. So what that means is that if something happens at the top and the big man gets in trouble about something, everybody under the big man is about to hear it. Like da 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 da. So it's pretty much like crap rolls downhill. Like whoever gets it, so it's going to touch everybody. And when it comes to honesty, when you're scaling yourself, you're going to expose gaps within yourself. So here's another note for you. The fastest way to scale a business is to scale the entrepreneur. You might want to write that down. The fastest way to scale a business is to scale the entrepreneur. Now, when you're scaling the entrepreneur, you're going to expose gaps because the process and the pressure is going to expose limitations and ignorance. And you're going to have to be honest with yourself. And once you become honest with yourself and you start to close the gaps, crap rolls downhill. You're going to start to see gaps in your team. And the same thing that is required for you to close a gap is what's required for your team to close a gap. So in order for you to close a gap is you have to be able to receive constructive criticism and take corrective action. Those two things. Constructive criticism tells you what the gap is and how to fix it. Corrective action is you executing on the information you received in order to close the gap. Now, in order for you to receive constructive criticism and take corrective action, you've got to be honest with yourself. Honesty, truth hurts. Leaders that cannot tell the truth enter a state of delusion. Now, here we've talked about healthy delusion, but now we're going to talk about unhealthy delusion. So, healthy delusion is being so convinced that your vision can be a reality that you do not accept obstacles as reasons to stop. Like, you do not accept no. Like, that's healthy delusion. It is a state of delusion in which you cannot see a world in which you are not successful. That's healthy delusion. Now, unhealthy delusion is when you are moving in a direction that is not producing results and you continue to move in that direction despite the fact that you're not getting results. And people that have results tell you that what you're doing is not right. Like, it's the constructive criticism piece. Like, you have to be in a coachable space in order to determine healthy delusion from unhealthy delusion. Honesty is connected to this. So if you're being coached and you're taking actions that don't make sense, and the coach is telling you it doesn't make sense, and you keep telling yourself that it's going to work despite what the professional with the results is telling you, then you're delusional. You have created an illusion in which you believe you are right, but the truth is you're wrong. And truth is objective, it's non-negotiable. Now, when it comes to honesty, most people enter a state of delusion when they're unable to accept the truth. So, as I pass it to Junior here, one of the biggest things that leaders have to be able to do is be honest with themselves, telling themselves the truth, taking constructive criticism and closing the gaps. And then after they've closed the gaps for themselves and increased their own leadership lid, going down to their team and telling their team the truth. You suck at this for these reasons. This is not your strong suit. You need to do something else. I love what you do over here, but what you're doing here is garbage. And being able, I'm not saying you have to be that direct, you know your people and communicate to them in a way that they respond. I'm from the military, Marine Corps. That's how they say, hey, this is garbage. This is trash. Don't do this anymore. Like, we're very direct. So the person that's talking to us knows we know we're messed up. So, honesty, Junior, from your perspective, how do you see people respond to the truth when they're not ready for it? And have you seen people's reluctance to accept the truth bury them in their business?
Bobby, I love this. You know why I love this question? Because it goes back to my fundamental belief and my philosophy when it comes to business. I believe in truth. I call it truism. That's what I call it. I don't know if that's a real thing, but that's what I call it. And I've said that several times. I believe that, like, okay, so guys, so if you're watching this right now and you have an idea for a business, whatever business it is, it could be a coaching business. I know I see Rebecca, it could be like a travel business. Doesn't matter whatever business it is, there is a version of reality that exists where you have that business and it's a successful business. Like, there is a version of reality where that business is massively successful. It could be $100 million, it could be $1 billion business. There are different versions of reality exist. I believe that, Bobby. I believe that wholeheartedly. Here's what I also believe. I believe that a business that is that is successful, the way you actually get successful is by getting closer and closer to the truth, understanding the truth about the market, understanding the truth about your team, understanding the truth about the skills you need, and then understanding the truth about where you are, the truth about finances, the truth about economics, the truth about you could just fill in the blanks. So when you ask me that question, I think that truth is the number one thing that holds people back. And maybe it's not something that they're doing to themselves. I think it's just a perspective they just don't have. Now, there's a great book that says that people are generally, they're not like they're not very critical of themselves. So in other words, they don't tell themselves the truth. They don't come down hard on themselves. People have the tendency not to do that. And as a result, they don't tell themselves the truth. So people tell themselves sweet, sweet lies. And they
Illusion.
start to believe it. I don't believe in that. I believe that a business that is successful, I believe the only reason you're not successful is because you haven't found the truth. In other words, you haven't found the number of calls you need to make. You haven't found the right script. You haven't found the right closing call. You haven't found the right client. There's some truth that you have not discovered that is keeping you back from being successful. So I believe in that 100%. Now, I also want to take a different route with what you're talking about. I want everybody to write this down because this is what I look for. So a while ago, you spoke about the leader talking to the, let's just say the contractors or the employees. I want to give it from the perspective of a contractor or an employee looking at a leader. Here's what I look at. There's something called a skill and trust index. So write this down. It's called a skill versus trust index. So what is that? If you imagine, let's imagine like a graph. Let's go back to like math class. Okay, not very fun, I know, right? Let's go back to math class for a little while. When the teacher used to draw one line going this way, one line right vertical, another one horizontal. Okay. On one end you have skill. So on the y-axis, on the vertical axis, you have skill, and to the bottom you have trust. Now, what I've noticed, Bobby, there are some leaders that are massively skillful, but you cannot trust them. So they're high on the skill index, but they're low on the trust index. And there are some people that you can trust. They will do anything for you. They will go to war for you. Okay? They have your back. If your house got destroyed in a hurricane, they'll take you in. High on the trust index. But when it comes to actually getting stuff done, closing the deals, speaking to the people, marketing, whatever you name it, they're low on the skill index. So they're not good at the skill, okay? But they have massive trust. You can trust them. And there are some people that are massively skillful, and you just have to watch them. So they're very skillful, but you still have to watch them. So what you're looking for as a team member, you're looking for a leader that is very skillful that you could also trust.
Yeah.
Okay. So high on the skill index, high on the trust index. Okay. Now, if you're the leader and you're looking for a team member, you're also looking for somebody that is high on the skill index, high on the trust index, meaning that you want people on your team that are very skillful that you could also trust. There are some people on your team, you can trust them, but they just don't have the skill. They cannot perform. So
Right.
that's not useful. Now, check this out, Bobby. The good thing is, people that are very trustworthy, you can often train the skill. So you can often train, like if you trust somebody, somebody's a great person, you can train them. So you can train skill, but
Hmm.
it's very tough to train trust. Very tough to train, if possible at all, to train trust.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're a leader and you're in the business of developing people, which you should be, I would always look for somebody that I can trust, who has moderate skill, that I can then grow the skill of. But if you find somebody that's very skillful, but you can't trust them, it doesn't matter how great they are, Bobby, they're going to rob you. They're going to rob you in some way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
that's not very useful. So if you're a leader, you're looking for high skill, high trust. If you're an employee or if you're a contractor, you're also looking for high skill, but also high trust. You know, there are people that you'll work for and then they'll not pay you. There are people, so you can't trust them, or they'll do some weird stuff when you're not looking. You don't need to work with people like that. You don't need to be a team member to somebody like that because they're very skillful, but you can't trust them. So it goes both ways for both set of people. So when it comes to honesty, I would say high skill, but also high trust. And that's sort of what I use, Bobby. That's how I look at it.
Yo, this is great. And we're about to go to a break, but I'll answer Rebecca's question from my perspective before we do. How do you prepare someone to receive honest feedback and constructive criticism? So I believe there's two things you can do to address this. One thing you can do is create a culture of feedback based on performance and goals. So now everybody is expecting to be criticized constructively and improve their performance if they're not reaching their goals. That should be a culture, that should be an expectation. So that's one way where they are prepared because they have an expectation, like the expectation management piece. It can be very helpful. Another thing is stress tests. So, what I mean by that is truth is often perceived instead of received. So, honesty, if I tell someone the truth, most people can't receive the truth unless they can perceive the truth. And you cannot perceive the truth until you are mature enough to do so. So, it's like if you were to go talk to your 15-year-old son and he is all hot and bothered in La La Land about girls. You know, he's just wanting to be accepted by the opposite sex because that's natural and biological for him. The honest thing or the truthful thing to say is that emotions come and go. Your first girlfriend won't be your last, and you're probably not going to marry the first person you date. That's the truth. And you might say that person's not ready for that truth. They're not ready to receive that. And the reason they're not ready to receive that is because they're not mature enough to perceive the reality. And the reality is that truth or that love is not a feeling, but a commitment to a series of actions. So the more that individual grows as a person, the more mature they become as an individual, and the less ignorant they are, the more capacity they have to perceive truth. So when we say when is someone prepared to receive it, it's usually when they're mature enough to perceive it.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna add a little bit on that. I'm gonna say focus on the problem, not the person. So if somebody's doing something that you don't necessarily agree with, and I'm just talking in the context of business, like let's just say one day, let's just say Bobby did something and he didn't do it, in the best way. I would focus on the problem and I would not target the person. I wouldn't target Bobby, I would target the problem. I would say, okay, Bobby, so, you know, this is probably how we need to do our calls from now because I noticed that the last call didn't do this for X, Y, and Z. So I'm focusing on the problem. I'm not focusing on the person. That way, when you give the criticism, you're criticizing the problem. You're not criticizing the person. Because oftentimes people don't do stuff because of one of three reasons. Number one, they don't know what to do. Number two, they don't know how to do it. And number three, they're not motivated to do it. If somebody's motivated, if they know what to do, most likely they just don't know how to do it. So if you focus on the problem and not the person and you help clarify that, then it could be a lot easier to give constructive criticism without feeling like you're personally attacking somebody, but it's like you're now coming on the other side of the table, and together the two of you are looking at the problem as opposed to sitting on the other side of the table and looking at the person. All right, guys, so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is a conversation on leadership. We'll be right back.
There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 plus 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 plus 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 plus 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 plus 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a 0 to you, You can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, welcome back. We're covering leadership. Talk to me, Bobby. I've enjoyed our conversation so far. For real,
So
it's been very, very enlightening. Let me tell you something. That last piece I gave you, that skill and trust index, like guys, I hope you wrote that down because that has saved me a lot of headache. It took me, and I learned that the hard way, by the way. I learned that the hard way. Because sometimes you could get caught up with people that are very skillful, but if the trust is not there, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like you have to have people that are skillful that you can also trust. That's like you going into a combat scenario with somebody you cannot trust. You're like the best sniper in the world, but you cannot trust him. Picture that, Bobby. That doesn't sound very good, does it? So you need people that have the skill that can actually do the work, but then you also need to be able to know that they have your back and they actually care about you. And
yeah,
that's very important.
I love what Michelle said, guys. That's why y'all have to follow us because we give you all the keys. Yesterday we talked about leadership, or excuse me, relationship. We talked about relationship in the leadership acronym, and we talked about being able to be honest and transparent with someone and to provide constructive criticism. There needs to be a trust foundation, a foundation of trust, or they're going to feel attacked. So great insight there, Michelle. Now, before we dive into integrity and perspective, I just want to remind you why you're here. And I was doing a lot of thinking on what we do as the brand. Like, what does Omni Solution stand for? What does Shaan Rai stand for? What do we do? I just want to remind you all, we're here to change the face of leadership. You are a leader. And when we say change the face of leadership, we mean diversify it. We mean there is no reason that people that look like me, you, and Junior aren't just as successful in business as every other individual out there. So in order to change the face of leadership, you have to develop leaders. And as you develop leaders, leaders have to have visions. If you don't have a vision, you're not a leader because you're not going anywhere. Imagine that. Like if you don't have a vision, you're not going anywhere. You're you're going somewhere, but you're going to end up somewhere that you did not plan to be. Visionaries arrive where they intend to arrive. That's what makes them leaders. Michael Jordan was a leader because he had a vision to win championships. If he would have just won games, he wouldn't have been the leader that we know today, because he would have never led his team to championships. The vision was championships. Most people's vision right now is to earn $1 million in business. Now, can you earn 3 million, 8 million, 10 million, 100 million? Yes. But most people's vision right now, if you are an educated, experienced expert, your goal is to take those 3 E's and turn them into impact, income, and independence through an ideal business that supports your ideal life and generates 7 figures annually for you and your family. That's what you're looking for. That's who our ideal client is. That's who you are, because that's who we talk to. That's who we market to. That's who we attract. And if you don't have that vision for yourself, that's who we repel. So before we go into the next 2 I's, I want you to know something about making $1 million. Because I've worked with companies that have made $1 million, worked with companies that are making multiples of millions of dollars. I've made my 6 figures and on my way to my 7 figures. Junior's made his money. Everybody's making money. And we're all moving in the direction of the next step for us, whatever, based on where we are. Now, you only need 2 things to make $1 million using our methodology, the branded like a leader methodology. You only need 2 things. You need a market and an offer. That's it. You need people to sell to and something to sell them. That's it. And obviously, if you have something to sell them, you have to deliver on it. You know, if you have a market, you have to market to them. But the reason I'm reminding you of this is because all of the conversations we have here are great. But if you lose sight of the vision, which is to make $1 million, leveraging your leadership, education, expertise, and experience, like if you lose sight of that, then you're coming here for the wrong reason. You're not coming here to make money. You're not coming here to learn how to lead a team that's going to generate revenue. You're not coming here to increase your leadership capacity in order to increase and add a 0 to your life. If that's not the reason you're showing up, just stop showing up. Like, there's no point. But if your goal and objective is to be a leader in your industry, dominate your market, and turn your education, experience, expertise, and brand story into $1 million business that you can run from anywhere, that is commensurate with your ideal life, because it's the ideal business that serves you and your family and impacts your community to the highest degree and positions you as a leader in your marketplace, you're in the right place. This will work for you. But if that's not you, it won't work. So take all of this and reconnect to the vision. Reconnect to why you started coming here in the first place. And remember that $1 million only takes 2 things: a market and an offer. And what we teach here is coaching, consulting, and speaking. Coaching, consulting, and speaking. That is your offer. What we teach here is branding. That is how you create a market. You attract your ideal clients, and your ideal clients make up your market. You sell to your ideal clients based on your offer. That's it. This strategy helped us generate over almost $500,000 in 90 days. If you come here with the right intentions, you'll win. So I just wanted to reconnect you guys to why we do what we do, if you forgot, because you can make $1 million. And that's why we do what we do, to help create freedom for you and your family. Integrity. For integrity, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special definition for integrity. Integrity is being true to yourself, both publicly and privately. It means to obey your own convictions, both publicly and privately, assuming no burdens placed upon you by the expectations of men or women. To thine own self be true. For if you are true to yourself, then you can be false to no one else. That's my definition of integrity. Now, what does that mean as a leader? Leading others that are helping you make $1 million. And when you have a big dream, you want to make your first million so you can help other people make their first million. It's all about creating more leaders. So when you are thinking about integrity as a leader and you're using the definition that I just gave you, you have to know your morals, values, and principles. We teach that in Branding Like a Leader. You got to know who you are and what you stand for, because that's incumbent. Like, you have to have those things if you're going to create a market that you want to serve. See, a lot of people aren't making the money that they want to make because they don't have clients. And they don't have clients because they don't know what they stand for. And they don't know what they stand for because they have not done the brand origin story, the origin brand story. They don't know who they are. And if you don't know who you are and what you want, it's very hard to build a business that's going to provide that to you. So integrity is another way of saying understanding your origin brand story and being in connection with your convictions, because that's what you have to convey to the marketplace and those that you lead. Now, once you obey those convictions, you have to obey them publicly and privately. So when you're marketing, that's public. You're putting information out there. But if you're not doing on the back end what you're saying on the front end, then you're not being authentic. We talk about authentic brand marketing, authentic marketing. So our stuff only works if you're really the person. So integrity is very essential to, one, leading others, leading yourself, but two, creating a market that you actually want to service. Because a lot of people don't have their ideal clients because they haven't become the ideal person. You attract who you are and what you are. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you're attracting poor clients. I'm saying that the person you need to become, you have not become yet, because you don't know what you need to know. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means that there's something that is not in alignment, morally, value-wise, or principle-wise. And for that reason, you're not attracting the person you know you're best equipped to serve. So once we've gotten the public and private piece down, we're authentic, we move into not allowing the burdens of others to weigh us down. So many times we are self-conscious, lacking confidence, and looking for permission to exist in our own skin. What that means is that we have yet to accept our story. Integrity is about being true to you. If Junior did not accept the fact that he lives in St. Lucia, had no money in an ATM, and could see the bottom of the floor in his car at one point in time, he would, if he never accepted that, it will be very hard for him to build on that. And here's the thing, you can only build with what you have. Most people say, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that. Junior will always tell you, start with what you have. Most people don't start with what they have because they haven't accepted who they are. And who you are is a manifestation of where you've been and who you had to become to get to where you are. If you discount where you've been and you try to erase who you were and you seek approval and acceptance from everybody but yourself, it's very hard to maintain integrity, because you haven't accepted you. You have not taken your story and said, okay, time to make this my crown glory. So that's the piece about not being burdened by the expectations of others, not having to feel like you have to be accepted, not having to seek permission to show up the way you see fit. Then there is be true to yourself, because if you are true to yourself, you can be false to no one else. Integrity requires you to show up boldly and confidently despite the ignorance that you have. So what I mean by that is be true to you. There is a guiding force in all of us that is what I call spirit. It's it is desire seeking manifestation. That is power. And power is oftentimes detached from knowledge. Power is just energy seeking expression. And you don't know what you don't know until you start to take action. Power urges you to act. And most people don't act because they don't have the knowledge. They feel like because I don't know what I don't know, I can't take action. They'll go and get 100 courses before they'll take a single step. And that's not how integrity works. Integrity says, I have a driving force within me that is compelling me to this action, and I'm going to take this action because I am true to my inner guide. And I will learn what I need to learn as information becomes available to me. And you take bold action in confidence that your guiding truth is right. And that's something a lot of people struggle with. They struggle to be authentic. They struggle with integrity. They struggle to take action based on their own internal convictions and guide because they're seeking the approval and acceptance of others in the form of either a certification, a degree, a rite of passage. They're looking for a reason to be able to take action. When integrity says, if I'm true to me, I cannot be false to you. It takes away the burden, and leaders need that. So as we pass this over, man, thank you. Junior had to hit me, guys, because I saw this and I was like, man, there's so much here. Junior had to hit me on the back end and be like, hey, all right. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Junior. I get passionate when I see the gaps, and we try to give it all to you. Please give your perspective on this so that we can hit perspective and get out of here. Thank you, Junior, for letting me go on that one. There's so much there.
Guys, put it in the chat. Put up some flames in the chat for Bobby, guys. Bobby's giving us the good word this morning. Bobby, I'm gonna keep it pretty short. You know, integrity to me basically means alignment. In other words, if your words don't align with your actions, then that's not integrity. If you tell me something and then you do something different, that's not integrity. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. So very, very simple alignment of self. In other words, if I test you, if you tell me something and I test you, it's supposed to be true. And that's how I know you're somebody of integrity. If you tell me something and then it doesn't happen or something else happens, to me that's not integrity. And that's my perspective on it. Now, funny enough, perspective is actually the last part of our show today, right? So the last one is actually P, which is perspective. So what is a leader's perspective? To me, this is a very, very broad kind of question. But number one, just like we spoke about attitude, I think leaders need to have good perspective. But the way I'll frame it is I'll say you need to have the kind of perspective that can basically reproduce or to produce a positive outcome, whatever the situation is. In other words, it doesn't matter what happens. Your perspective should be able to reroute whatever's going around you into some kind of something with positivity or utility, meaning that you can use it. Does that make sense?
Powerful.
So I'll give you an example. Maybe you're at a job. Maybe you don't like the job. Perspective says, or one perspective says you have to go in. The next perspective says you get to go in. So on one end, it's like I have to go in today. On another end, it's like I get to go in today. We have a saying in my country, you know, I'll say it in our, should I say it in our language? I don't know. You guys probably won't understand our native language, but basically it translates to this. It says that the rock that is in the ocean wants to be on the land, and the rock that is on the land wants to be in the ocean.
Mm.
So what does that mean? It means that we oftentimes don't have the perspective to see how blessed we are. And we need to be wherever our feet are. So be where your feet are. So if your feet are here, be here. Water your own grass. Find the right perspective. There's always a different way to look at things. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So that is perspective. So perspective to me as a leader is mastering the art of changing the way you look at things so the things you look at change. And that's my 2 cents.
Masterful, Junior. Masterful. That put us at the top of the hour. So I'll just say something very brief on what Junior said. For me, perspective is another form of mental agility. So when you are agile, you're able to move and cut and take different directions. So when you are a master of perspective, you have become capable of looking at any situation from a series of angles until you find the angle that allows you to move forward. Perspective is all about moving forward for me as a leader. Like, so if I'm leading people and they bring me a problem, my perspective or my ability to perceive truth means how many different angles can I look at this problem from in order to give them a winning insight, the ability to move forward. So that's perspective for me. It's the ability to analyze things from multiple angles until you find a way forward, and always having a perspective that moves you and your team forward. So there's a question. We may have time to answer that one question, and then we got to get out of here.
Yeah, let's get this question. So Rebecca says, do you find different results when efforts based on obligation versus appreciation? So I'll answer it like this. Bobby, have you ever had a home cooked meal? Have
Yes, I
you
have.
ever had a home cooked? So Rebecca, if you've ever had a home cooked meal where the person that made the meal could be your mom, could be, you know, a partner, could be somebody else, where they made that meal with love, and you could just feel the love bursting from the meal, from the food, that's your answer right there. So when the food was made with love and appreciation, you could taste the difference. Literally, even there's it's the same ingredients, it's the same process, but it's just something different about it when you have a different perspective. And that's my answer to that.
I'm not going to touch that one at all. That was incredible, Junior. Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right, guys. So thank you so much. This has been absolutely amazing. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, so same place, same time. Stay tuned. Of course, if you need anything at all, if you need any courses, any kind of material, any kind of brand launch, go to www.seanrice.com and get your stuff up and running. Bobby, before we close, like I was listening to something about AI this morning. I was listening to another podcast. They were talking about AI.
Mhm.
Guys, I really believe that in the future, the only way you'll be able to stand out if you do any kind of business online is you have to have a brand. If you don't have a brand online, it's going to be virtually impossible for you to do business. It's already tough as it is. With
Yeah.
AI coming, there's something called an AI influencer, where they're bots that are making money. They're AI influencers, people that are not real, that are already making 6 figures. And some of them making 7 figures, and they're not even real. So I'm telling you, if you don't have a brand in the next 5 years, I don't know where you're going to be. And that's just being honest. You need to, if this is something you really want to do, take the first steps. Start developing the brand, start taking the steps in that direction if you want to stay relevant and if you want to have a chance to compete in the near future. This is not a game. This is something real. It's coming. The moment is here, the time is now. And if you want to learn more about that, just go to www.seanrice.com or just give me a call or message Bobby and we will be here to assist you. All right. So have a phenomenal day. See you tomorrow, same place, same time. Let's grow.